Joining us now is the Vice President of the United States, former Governor, now Vice President Mike Pence. And Mr. Vice President, it's always an honor to have you back on the program. Thank you for joining us.
It's my honor, Sean. Thank you. And thank you for replaying those moments. I will tell you, I served in the Congress for 12 years, but I never experienced a moment like when the President paid tribute to Ryan Owens and honored his wife Corinne and their children and her entire family. There was not a dry eye in the House, and in doing that, I think President Trump showed not only his compassion for that family, but his love and devotion for all of the men and women of our armed forces.
The reaction to last night's speech was not predicted by me. I just assumed the media would continue their war with the president. But when a hard, very fair, very tough news guy like Chris Wallace and then a leftist like Van Jones both say the same thing, that in their minds, Donald Trump became the president last night. It was that deep and that profound a speech in a moment. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think it was a great speech, but it was much more than a speech. It was a great night for America. Now you know the president well, and you've known him for years. I've had the privilege of getting to know him over the last year on the campaign trail, and now as we serve together every day, we become very close. But I think what happened last night, Sean, is that the president that you know, the president that I know, was able to speak from his heart and his mind directly to the American people without the filter of the media. And what they saw was a leader with broad shoulders, willing to fight for what he believes in, but they also saw a man with a big heart, not just for Corinne Owens and their family, but really for all the families of this country, as he laid out a specific agenda to make America secure again, to make America prosperous again, and really to fulfill all the promises that he made as he campaigned for this high office.
That's the thing that is most encouraging to me. Mr. Vice President, sadly, I believe that our country has been both economically and on the world scale in a precipitous decline. And the agenda items that the president went through in great specificity and detail last night, I believe, are the prescription to make that turn and to get those people out of poverty, off of food stamps, back into the labor force, and get the American dream and get home purchasing and home buying, first-time home buyers up, that number up again. It's now at a 51-year low. And similarly, building up our military and taking on radical Islam and saying it. I mean, this is such a shift and a change that I think a course correction that the country needs deeply.
I couldn't agree more, and obviously based on the reaction, not only from pundits, which is the favorable reviews are welcome, but really the reaction that we're seeing all across the country is that people welcome the president's vision for this country, not just his optimism, not just his determination, but the specifics. I mean, this was a speech that was filled stem to stern with an agenda for this Congress and this nation, beginning with repealing and replacing Obamacare, rebuilding our military, restoring the infrastructure of this country, ending illegal immigration, and getting this economy moving again by continuing, as we've already begun, to roll back excessive regulations, begin to manage these agencies in a way that will support American growth, have smarter and better trade deals. And, of course, the president called for not only the largest military buildup since the Reagan years, but he's calling for sweeping tax reform for working families, small businesses, and American free enterprise that'll unleash the full potential of this economy.
You know, I guess what I've really liked, too, is the president has been able to tick off that list, that checklist of promises that he made, and now a lot of what he's talking about is going to require congressional help and support. For example, repealing and replacing Obamacare. I know that I interviewed the Speaker of the House, and he's got a consensus plan, he calls it, that's being scored by the CBO, and I assume there'll be amendments, as there always is. That's supposed to happen in March. He's going to pass two budgets. One is going to be a tax reform bill, which is really, really important. I love that the president is adding austerity. He's cutting the EPA budget. He put a freeze on hiring spending, et cetera. What is the timeline to get that economic plan in place, which I think is so important? The repatriated money, the 15% corporate tax rate, 7 brackets to 3, a middle-class tax cut. When does that all happen? How fast do you think Congress can do it?
Well, the morning after the election, we were to work in the Trump Tower, as you know. And the president made it clear his number one priority is to repeal and replace Obamacare. And it's March right now, and and the Congress is going to begin in earnest in just a few short days in moving legislation that will accomplish both. And I thought it was really important last night that the president laid out the case against Obamacare. I mean, as much you've seen a lot of public debate about Obamacare and people want it. The president went right to the country and said, here's what's really going on. It is failing. It's collapsing. It is nothing but broken promises. Premiums have been going up, and that it has to be repealed. But then in the same breath, he did what great presidents do, Sean, and that is he looked at the Congress and he laid out the principles for replacing Obamacare with a health care system and a health insurance economy built on personal responsibility, the doctor-patient relationship, and free market principles. And in doing that, now the Congress begins its work. They know, if you will, the guardrails for what President Trump is prepared to support. We actually had a meeting in the White House today here in the West Wing with the leadership of the House and Senate, and I can tell you, your millions of listeners around America should just buckle up. This administration is going to be working shoulder to shoulder with the leadership in the Congress to fulfill the president's commitment to repeal and replace Obamacare and do all the other things that he described in his address last night.
How do you feel about, I talk about the speed of Trump, and I'm urging Republicans, because we saw last night there will be very little, if any, Democratic participation or help coming to the president. They have decided that they are going to take their cues from the hard left of their party, those that are out protesting every day, and they have no motivation. It was obvious last night. Even when the president said he's going to create jobs, they sat on their hands. So it really comes down to the Republicans getting this job done. Are you confident they are up to the task on all these major issues? Obamacare, energy, education back to the states, health care. Are you confident that these things can get done without any Democratic help?
You know, what I'm confident in is in the leadership of President Donald Trump and the collaboration that he has forged with our leaders in the Congress, in the House and the Senate, and also with governors. We just spent a weekend meeting with governors, frankly, in both political parties, talking about infrastructure, talking about how we replace Obamacare with the kind of reforms of Medicaid that gives states the resources and flexibility to meet the needs of their most vulnerable population. I'm confident in the president's leadership and in the cooperation that we have with Republicans in Congress. But I would tell you, for all of your millions of listeners, to stay engaged, to stay informed, to let their voice be heard now more than ever. We have a historic opportunity in this Congress, I believe, to address some intractable problems been facing the country. The rising cost of health care. The Democrats brought their solution back in 2009. It failed. We'll bring free market solutions as we repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to cut taxes, get the economy moving again. We're going to rebuild the military. The president's already taken decisive action to strengthen our borders. We'll soon see the construction of the wall commenced. You're seeing internal enforcement around the country as never before, and all of that is moving forward because of the leadership and the determination of President Trump and the support of the American people, the support of the leaders in Congress. I think can make this a historic moment and a time of real change and real renewal, not just of the American spirit, but genuine renewal of our nation's economy, our security, and our place in the world.
All right, Vice President Pence has agreed to stay with us just a second longer here. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll have more reaction with him, and then Newt Gingrich will join us right here on the Sean Hannity Show.
Your money. Find out how to keep more of it and live debt-free. Tonight on the Dave Ramsey Show, starting at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
I have been wanting for a long time, and I'm extremely happy about it. If I may take one personal privilege here, I made a promise to two women that have been on this program often. And the president actually mentioned one during one of the debates, Christian Saucier. He took 6 pictures inside a submarine. He's spending a year in jail away from his wife and family. Or the case of Clinton Lawrence, convicted of murder when he literally engaged an enemy to save the people that he had the honor of guarding, his soldiers. He got 20 years in prison after protecting the men and women that served under him. Here's what I asked the president. I want to ask you one question.
Let me ask you about the power of the pardon, which is absolute for a president. One night, I know you were watching my show, and I had the mother of this young sailor who is spending a year in jail because he took 6 pictures for his own use in a submarine, and you were comparing it. Would that be something early on you would consider?
I'm actually looking at it
Christian
right now.
Saucier.
I think it's very unfair in light of what's happened with other people. And I think it's very, very
Did you hear the
unfair.
story of Clint Lawrence, another guy? Got 30 years. He was doing his job, protecting his team in Afghanistan.
We're looking at a lot of those things. Few of them. And by the way, if another event didn't happen, I would look at him. But how can you have somebody else get away with such a tremendous amount, and then this person who takes a picture of his desk on an old submarine? Look, if China or Russia wanted information on that submarine, they've had it for many years. That I can tell.
What's your reaction to that? I know how busy you are. I made a promise to the mothers of these brave men, and I wanted to ask you if you don't mind me taking the privilege.
Well, you've kept your promise, and as the president told you, he's looking at both of those matters, and I expect the president will make his own decision on those things. But I think one of the things that's so refreshing about President Trump,
he cares.
Is he cares. You started this conversation speaking about the tribute that he paid to Ryan Owens. I did a couple of TV shows this morning, and several of them talked to me about the difference that they had seen. And several of them were critics, pretty regular critics of the president. And I said, to be honest with you, I didn't see any difference. The president who spoke at the podium last night, and you know I'm right about this because you know him. The president who spoke at the podium last night is the president that I serve with every day. Broad shoulders, willing to fight for what he believes in, but he's got a big heart. He loves his family. He loves the American people, and I know he'll always approach every decision as president with both the strength and the compassion that people expect in the highest office in the land.
Isn't that an amazing thing? Because the media has been so unfairly harsh towards him, and every time he goes out and meets the people or speaks directly to the American people, he's able to change hearts and minds, and even the most cynical in the media last night had to begrudgingly admit that was a not only a spectacular moment for the wife of this fallen Navy SEAL, but a spectacular speech with very broad vision that outlined the problems and the solutions and how we're going to get there.
It was inspiring, but it's all him. That what the American people saw without the filter of the national media is the president that I have the privilege of serving down the hall from every day, the man that I campaigned shoulder to shoulder with last year, someone whose family I've come to know, who's come to know my family. And there's a reason why he won this election, 30 out of 50 states. There's a reason why he won in historic fashion, winning states that Republican candidates hadn't won for a generation. And that's because he has this uncanny ability to connect with the American people, to express their hopes, their aspirations, their frustrations. But he marries that with an optimism that you heard, Sean, at the end of that speech. I mean, you know him. He is a man of boundless confidence, boundless optimism.
Energy. He never sleeps.
Never sleeps.
I know.
But he sees no challenge too great, no problem that's unsolvable. And to do as he did last night, to encourage every American to believe in America again, to come together, even across party lines, to solve the problems facing the country. That's presidential leadership, and I couldn't be more proud to stand with him.
I told him this privately, and I've said it on the air, and I'll say it in front of you. I actually think the best choice he made was you as his vice president, and I see how great a team you are, and it's always an honor to have you on, Mr. Vice President. We really appreciate your time.
It's my honor, Sean.
All right, thank you so much, Vice President Mike Pence on the Sean Hannity Show.